We often live as if the branches of humanity have always been separate, forgetting that even the most distant cultures once shared a single root. Ancient traditions describe a family that split following the Great Flood. Two brothers, Shem and Japheth, led their descendants in opposite directions, eventually losing the memory of their shared bloodline. The descendants of Shem settled across the ancient Near East, establishing the cultural and spiritual foundations of the Hebrew people. Meanwhile, the family of Japheth migrated toward the northern highland, planting the roots of what would become the Armenian nation in the shadow of Mount Ararat. While these two groups spent thousands of years apart, they left behind specific linguistic markers, recurring patterns in their names and music that suggest they never truly lost their connection. One of the most common markers is a name found throughout Armenian history, Hovhannes. This name is the Armenian translation of the ancient Hebrew name Iohannan, the same name known in English as John. This places a Hebrew prophet, a son of Shem, at the center of Armenian identity. This shared reverence for the same figure suggests that the two cultures remained tethered by a common spiritual lineage, even as their languages changed. The connections reach beyond names and into the phonetic structure of the words themselves, specifically the classical Armenian term for a Jewish person, Յահուդի. This term preserves the Hebrew phonetic structure, YHWH. Yah is the starting point, the seed of life. Ho is an expansion, a breath releasing conscious life. Finally, they acts as a vertical connector, joining heaven and earth. For both cultures, these sounds describe a world constantly moving. Life is an active process of connecting our physical existence back to its origin. This movement is captured in a shared ancient root, KPR. It is a linguistic code for becoming, or the process of continuous transformation. This process was first observed in the mineral world. On the island of Cyprus, raw copper ore naturally transforms into a bright blue salt. This transition from dull metal to a vivid, useful substance became the primary example of how nature can be refined. Ancient traditions applied this mineral transition to the human spirit. They told stories of guardians of the forge, like Hephaestus or Bes, taking raw, unformed elements and shaping them into something stronger. KPR tells us that existence isn't a fixed state. It is a transformation, like ore becoming metal, where we are constantly being refined into a more complete version of ourselves. To maintain this process of becoming, the Armenians developed a practical tool to tune their spiritual lives through sound. They used a system of musical notation called kos. These are not simple notes, but a map of how the human voice should flow. Most modern music relies on fixed, static pitches. Kos notation instead describes a fluid ascent and descent, where the voice never sits still, mirroring the constant motion of the KPR process. This music wasn't just for entertainment, it was an auditory guide. It was specifically designed to keep the human spirit in motion, aligned with the natural frequency of change. This ancient sound technology required a highly specific environment to function, which led to the creation of the Avazan Chapel. This chapel is carved directly into a cliffside. It houses a natural spring, creating a chamber where water and stone interact to create unique acoustics. Inside, choirs use a system of 8 different musical scales. Each scale is tuned to resonate against these specific rock-cut walls. As the singers cycle through these 8 scales, the chapel functions as an acoustic machine. It amplifies the human voice, turning breath into a physical force of spiritual elevation. When those 8 scales ring out together, their resonance creates a new harmonic, a 9th vibration, acting as a bridge. This vibration eventually reaches a measure of 10, das in Armenian, representing total cosmic balance, where all elements find their stable position. Ancient accounts suggest that this stabilizing tone was hummed by the very first survivors of the Great Flood to maintain their connection to the world. It is a frequency intended to outlast the rise and fall of empires. When we trace these shared names, alphabets, and melodies, the old divisions between Shem and Japheth begin to fade. we find that beneath our different histories, we are all participating in that same ancient process of becoming.